Good morning. It's Monday morning, and I have no idea what the date is, but I know it's Monday. It's been a very long weekend, so of course, I have no idea what day it is. But, anyways, it's Moji of Authentic Conversations with Moji, and welcome. Hey, how are you? I know you're wondering what is she doing on Facebook. So I thought I was going to do this fun thing for myself. Right? And just have fun talking on YouTube, and there wouldn't be anybody there, really, only people that want to hear the conversation. But I got about 4 inboxes this morning saying, hey, you can't go to YouTube alone because this is part of our 10 a.m. routine. It was only 3 people. It's not like I have a huge following or anything. But I decided, you know what? I might as well do what I've always done, which is pretty much to share my thoughts with people around me. And it's nice to have a conversation with people and have them engage in the conversation. So if you're here, please say hello to me so I know that you're here, because doing what I do, it gets exhausting sometimes, just talking to myself. So I bring in people, and I like to hear from others as well. So today's show, I want it to be a little bit more different than everything else I usually do. If you want to come into the show, all you have to do is say, can I come in? Or inbox me on my private page, or no, just say, can I come in? And I'll send you a link to come into the back studio, because the conversation we're having is from my experience, and I like to hear other people's experiences. So if you're on the show, if you're listening to me, just say hello. Last week, we talked about relationships and how ending the relationship, how a relationship ends. And sometimes we're not mentally or emotionally removed from that relationship, so we kind of get stuck. So we talked about we talked about letting go of the past relationship so we can move on to the next relationship. So, but it's a process. Everything I do, I learned, is a 4-step process. Some people do it in 3. For me, it took 4 steps. I kept falling and I had to get back up again. So if you're one of those people, I'm going to give you guys 4 steps today on how to move on after a failed relationship. And I mean marriage, loveship, not friendship, just, romantic relationship. Hello, good morning, Ola, Omolade, sorry. Ilawale, how are you? So last week we talked about letting go, moving on, just letting go of a relationship that's not working. It doesn't matter what the relationship looks like. If it's not fulfilling to you as a person, if it's abusive, if it's just, sometimes the person you're in a relationship with is absolutely wonderful, but that's not the relationship for you, because when you met that person, you were not your authentic self. You were not in your own authentic space. So you could not accept the love that you deserve, or you could not accept the kind of life that you want, because you were living up to what people said you had to be. You became what you were expected to be, like a lot of us do. So today we'll be talking about moving on. What do I mean by moving on? Okay, basic. You're separated from the person. You're no longer, and we're talking about heterosexuals, homosexuals, pansexuals, whatever floats your boat. It doesn't matter. It's all the same thing. When we're talking about emotions, it's the same thing, with a twist, usually, depending on your sexuality and the rules and guidelines that you construct for your life. It's there's no one book fits all kind of thing. So today we'll be talking about how like I said, hold on one second. If you want to come in, let me just send myself the invite so I have it on my fingertips, right? If you want to come into the show again, please feel free to let me know, and I will bring you right in. In the meantime, just bear with me one second and we'll jump right in. I'm just sending myself the invite so I can send it to other people as well, right? So there we go. Yep, there we go. All right, so if you want to come in, just let me know and I'll bring you right in. There you go. So, excuse the noise. I'm not technologically inclined like most people. All right. Yeah, I got the invitation. So if you want to come in, just let me know. Bottom line is, so like I was saying, a lot of us live bad relationships. We have the courage. We've had the courage to leave, right? Or maybe something happens and the relationship just falls apart for whatever reason. It doesn't matter if you left or if your husband left you or your wife left you or something left you. You know, tomorrow or next week Monday, I'll deal with people that have loved ones that moved away. So here goes. In my opinion, and I always say about my opinion because my walk is so different from a lot of people's, my walk was very hard because I personally was hiding. I had a lot of secrets. I had a lot of, you know, I mean, I was gay. I knew I was gay at 14, but I never dated in my adult years. I only dated a woman at 14. So I never dated a woman after that, but I knew something was seriously not working in my heterosexual world that I had created for myself. But as a person, no matter who you are, if you're not living your authentic life, of course, it's not going to work. So part of moving on, the first stage is finding yourself. Self-actualization, as far as I'm concerned, is the first stage. I did not start self-actualizing until I was like in my 40s. I was 30, almost 40, when I realized that, look, I'm successful. I own a real estate company. I owned a restaurant. I owned a talent management company, but I wasn't happy within me. So all of those things, all the money in the world, all the shoes in the world, none of that was making me feel complete. Nothing could make me happy, not a single thing. Why? Because I wasn't living my authentic self. A lot of young women, and I say a lot of young women because I speak to a lot of young women, they get married just because people tell them it's a thing to do. So they would get married to the right family, or they got married for the wrong reasons. They needed a shelter, they needed money, they needed somebody to protect them, whatever. So if you're not self-actualized before you marry, there's always going to be a problem, because what happens is that the person your husband or wife marries is not the same person they're growing up with. See, when you marry somebody, when you're self-actualized and you know yourself, I'm not talking about money. I'm not talking about owning businesses. I'm not talking about how much money you personally have in the bank. I'm talking about knowing who you are. Because when you know who you are, oh my God, it doesn't matter how crazy you are. It doesn't matter how absolutely silly you are able to attract the person that is right for you. Because the energy that you give out at that point is going to be the energy that attracts the right person. I mean, you can imagine if you're looking for a job and your qualifications are for banking, but you want to be the president of the United States, it's not going to work. If you're qualified to be a mechanic, you cannot now be a brain surgeon, it's not going to work. So when we're talking about self-actualization, it's actually getting to know yourself, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Right? So let's assume that you were in a relationship before and you were not self-actualized, you did not know your true self, and you settled for less, because people that know their worth, people that know who they are, people that accept who they are, the good, the bad, and the ugly, they don't settle. They don't allow themselves to be used like toilet paper. They can actually say no and feel comfortable with saying no. They don't accept the date from a person because they're hungry, because they want companionship or whatever. And if they do, they know exactly what they're doing. It's not being cunning. It's not being silly. It's not being, I forget the word. Bottom line is that it's about building yourself up. So in my opinion, once you build yourself up, right, it becomes so different. Your interactions with people becomes different. The people that you allow into your life is different. The people that you accept into your life is different. See, as you start to grow and shed your old skin, you lose a lot of friends, right? And people think they've moved on, but you can't move on from a relationship when you're still friends with the same people when you were miserable. A lot of times what ties people together is misery. A lot of times when people think they have friends, your common denomination is actually pain. So as you start to heal, and what I usually tell a lot of my clients in my life coaching business is that they have to write down what it is that they love about themselves, what it is that they do not like about themselves, what it is that they want to change, and what it is that they cannot change. It sounds like a lot of work, doesn't it? It takes 3 minutes. You know, what is it that you like about yourself? What is it that you like about your life right now? What is it that you want to change? And what is it that you cannot change, that you have to accept? There's a saying in AA, and I've never been to one, but because I read a lot, I've read a lot of their writings, that says that God give me the strength to be able to accept what it is that I can change, that I cannot change, and give me the courage to change what it is that I can. In life is so simple, right? So most people that I know, including myself, when I first came out of my old relationship, my past relationship, I was like, okay, I'm not, I have to decide if I'm even dating material. I had to, because I was so broken. There were so many things I had to work on, because we're always talking about, oh, I have suitcases and I'm bringing it into the relationship. Honey, when you travel, right? When you travel, you carry your suitcase, you bring it in the house, and you unpack everything out of the suitcase and you put the suitcase away. And sometimes you don't take everything out, because if you travel as much as we do in this house, you have seconds of everything that I leave in the suitcases, like toothbrushes and combs and things like that you leave in your suitcase. But most times when we come home, we unpack everything. We have to wash some things, we have to send some things to the dry cleaners, and such. So it's basically the same thing, really. If you think about the fact that you just left a past relationship, but you have not unpacked the suitcases, you have not worked on the things that the traumas that you experienced in the past relationship. See, that is one of the biggest things that holds us back in going forward. Because what most people don't understand is a lot of things that we do are triggered by the past experiences. That's one of the reasons why I went to therapy almost 20 years, and it wasn't, continuously. Sometimes I would go 2-3 years and I wouldn't see a therapist, and then I would, stumble over something I had buried under the rugs, and I would have to go again. So a lot of times people have not unpacked the suitcases. You haven't worked on the issues of your low self-esteem. You haven't talked about the fact that maybe your dad left you, maybe your father wasn't around, maybe your mother wasn't around, all those things that broke you to the point where you settled for a man or a woman that treated you like crap, to the point where you settled for a man or a woman that used you like toilet paper, for, whatever it is that's bothering you at that point. You need to work on it, because if you don't, you can't move on to your promised land. See? A lot of us have secrets that we're hiding, whatever secret it is that you're hiding. It's crazy. Hey, Tucci, it's crazy that a lot of us have secrets. Secrets kill people. Secrets destroy relationships. Secrets destroy our own being. It destroys our spirits. It makes us feel less. So once you start unpacking the secrets and toilet paper and, throwing things out, and the things that you cannot throw out, you work on it, or you learn how to accept it. For instance, look, life is very simple. For me, I'm 55 years old. For a lot of you young people out there, the difference between who you are today and who you will become tomorrow is the choices that you make today. How did I know that, honey? 55. The choices I made in my 20s, I'm still paying for today. The choices, like something as silly as making my hair blonde when I was younger and I was modeling, and I thought it was a cool thing, and I was really into Grace Jones, not even knowing that I had a crush on Grace Jones, right? I used to make my hair blonde, like really, really white, not gray, white. So to do that, you have to strip the hair. Once you strip the hair, then you have to add the color. But I'm a black woman with kinky curls hair. It doesn't work. So every time they strip my hair, I would lose most of it. And then as age came along, and then I became a member of the Pink Club, and then I had started to have alopecia. So literally I have 12 strands of hair on my head. That's not a secret, because let me tell you, when it was a secret, I used to be embarrassed. I didn't swim for many years because I didn't want people to see me without my wig or my weave. Now that I've owned my truth and I talk about it like it's nothing, guess what? It doesn't bother me. People can't even abuse me because I use wigs and weaves, because I talk about it like it's a normal thing. So once you stop having secrets, and I'm not saying go out there and air everything out. I don't tell everything, right? So I don't expect you to. Please don't. But be very choosy of the place and the time and the people that you choose to tell your story to. There's nothing more empowering. Nothing more empowering than owning your shit. Like when I said I had stupiditis, yes, I did. When I owned marrying somebody that I was not really in, I liked a lot. I loved the person. I loved him a lot. But I was not in love, because to be in love, you have to be spiritually connected. You have to be sexually attracted to that person. And it wasn't that for me. And I just kind of went through the motions, and I used my businesses at something else. I ran around the world. I mean, just helping everybody and doing everything and letting myself go. See, when you love yourself and you accept yourself and you understand that life is a continuous journey. It's chapters. It's not what you're going through today is not the end of the world. So don't go and make a decision today about something temporary and make permanent decisions that will hurt you for the rest of your life. But once you own who you are, it becomes easier. Moving on is what we're talking about. Moving on after a bad relationship. I'm going to tell you something very, very interesting, which I didn't learn until about, 5 years ago when I met my wife, because I was ready. About 7 years ago, I thought I was ready to date. I'm finally out of the closet, but I didn't know what I wanted from anyone. I didn't even know what kind of relationship it was that I wanted. But so I tried dating someone and it didn't work out. It was very abusive. And why was it abusive? It was because I had watched my father beat his wives. So I thought, so when somebody loves you, they beat you up. So during therapy is when I learned that that's not acceptable. Even a small bow is not acceptable. But, in the past, I thought because my dad would spank me and tell me, oh, I love you. If I don't, I won't waste my time on you. After he's beating me with koboko, I still have marks on my back. I'm not saying the guy was a bad guy. I'm just saying from, in the 60s and 70s, that's what parents did. They spanked their kids, they beat their kids. Now it's considered child abuse. But all those things register in our head. See, all those things register in our heads and we don't realize it. Right? We don't. So subliminal things like that, you have to unpack. Once you started to do that, for me, it was a journey. Once I started therapy and I started meditations and prayers and things like that, and I started to really like myself, I realized that I deserve the best in the world. A lot of us don't accept dates from people that are worthy of us because we don't think we are worthy of them. Right? Does that make sense? A lot of us don't accept love from people that are worthy because we don't think we are worthy. And even when a person comes along that's really the bomb, we don't see it. We don't see it because we don't think we deserve it, right? So 7 years ago, I was just there and I decided I'm going to stand still. I'm going to work on my credit. I'm going to do what I love to do, right? And just live my life. And I started walking with spirit. I'm not saying everybody should be spiritual. I'm saying find something that grounds you, that makes you whole, that makes you feel safe aside of human beings. Because if you don't feel safe within yourself, nobody can make you feel safe. Nobody can love you if you don't love yourself. We already know that. That's a cliche. Everybody said it. Tony Robbins said it. Oprah said it. Everybody, Gandhi even said it. Everybody said it. So we all know it is. So why is it so hard? Is the question. Why is it so hard to love ourselves? Expectations, I think, is one of the reasons. I don't know it all. So if you do know, please do tell me. Expectations is one of the reasons I think we do that. And because we're expected to be a particular way, we're expected to be this by the time we get to that age. We're running a race that we're not really running. We're running a race to impress other people. I see people jumping up and down on social media and posting pictures and da-da-da. And then I went searching the other day for narcissistic behaviors. And I realized we are all narcissists, all of us. Anybody that's on social media posting their picture, talking about I ate moi moi last night. I posted this morning after I did yoga. Yay, yoga is an amazing thing. I'm a narcissist just like the next man. It's a level of narcissism that's different. See, when they say something is too much, then you have a problem. See, when people say narcissist, I bring the word narcissist up because people say, oh, if you love yourself, then you're a narcissist. No, if you love yourself, you're a realist. Because why wait for somebody else to love you when you can love yourself the way you want to? And that is what's going to attract that person that loves you. I'm not a connoisseur in how to find love. What I do is talk about my past experiences. What I do is talk about my walk. What I do is talk about what works for me. And it's not going to work for everybody else. So if it doesn't work for you, I'm sorry, but whoever this message is for, take it and run. Because at the end of the day, these are things that I paid dearly for. I paid for this to be customized. I am a certified life coach. And if you want something that's customized for you, feel free to inbox me. I will do that for you. Of course, it's going to cost you a couple of dollars, but hey, here's a blueprint of something free that you can work off. Anyways, so a client called me last week and said, you know, she's been single for quite a while and she chose to be single. I was like, whoa, that's so brilliant. Because I did too. I chose to be single for quite a while too, because I wasn't sure what direction I wanted to go, where my life was even going at that point. I wasn't even sure because I'd been through this really roller coaster period that it was all about survival with 4 kids. A lot of times when people have children and you're a single parent, you're worrying so much about the children, how they'll be, who they'll be with, who they'll become, what resources emotionally, financially, and time that you have. So you're not even thinking about dating anybody because, you know, you don't have time. You're not thinking about dating anybody because you're not ready. You don't want to date anybody because, look, I don't have time for whatever. Problem there is, yeah, you have to start teaching your children once you leave the relationship, not the day you decide to date. You have to start mentioning to them that I'll be dating soon, or when I get a boyfriend, or when I get a girlfriend. You have to have those conversations authentically with your kids, because let me tell you something. 70% of marriages with stepchildren fail. You can Google it. 70% of marriages with stepchildren fail because the stepchildren usually have this fantasy of their parents, biological parents, coming back together, or they are so used to having you to themselves that they don't allow or give room to your partner to exist in your life. It might not make sense to you. Ask me questions if you don't understand what I'm saying. It's very simple. I lived through it. You know, for about 2006, I was separated and I started dating again, I think like 2010 or something like that, or 2009, I forget. And my kids were not having it, especially the older ones. We've done everything together. They were my co-parents. My older daughters were the ones that helped me take the little ones, give them baths while I was running all these businesses and things like that. So when it came time for another adult to step into my life, it was hard for them to leave that space that I gave them. And it wasn't even fair to them because, you know, while they were busy helping me parent their brothers, they didn't have time to do what kids did, you know, hang out and all that stuff. I mean, it worked out well, thank God, for one. But the other one resents me today because I had taken so much of her. My first daughter resents me because I'd taken so much of her childhood, you know, teenage years. And Nigerians would be like, oh my God, that's what I did when I was growing up. I helped my stepmothers to take care of their kids, and it wasn't a big deal, but times have changed. So you have to start letting them know their position. Allow your children to play their position, because at the end of the day, your children are your children. Eventually they'll leave, and then what? Then you'll be by yourself. But since you were not prepared mentally to be in another relationship, to be available, to even be forget being in another relationship, you have not prepared yourself to be available, to be in a relationship, then what? What happens? See, a lot of women my age today that are separated and divorced, or that were separated and divorced around the same time as I, are still single. They're still shouting, my children are my life. Honey, your children are gone. They're 30. Now you're a grandmother and you're still shouting, my children are my life. Your children are not your life. They might be your life, but you're not their life. And the worst thing in the world is to grow up bitter and old. And while you're laying on your hospital bed in a nursing home because you're alone, your children are doing exactly what they're supposed to do, which is living their lives. We have to start raising our children to understand, or to know, that their lives and not our lives are not dependent upon them, that their lives are their lives, right? So we have to create space for other people if you're looking to date. And it's very important, please, you must know if you want to date, because you don't want to break anybody. If you're not ready to date, if you're not dating material, like I used to call myself, I'm not dating material. If you're not dating material, sit still. If you haven't healed from your past relationship, sit still. Give it time, eat ice cream, exercise, walk, read, do yoga, do meditations, do whatever it is to get that thing out of your system. One of the things that I always tell my friends, and they all think I'm crazy, is the fact that, look, the truth is that at the end of the day, right? Every time, I, Moji, believe that every time you have intimate relationships, as in sex, with another human being, they're leaving a piece of themselves with you. They live in a small piece of themselves with you. So imagine you've dated 15, 20 people, you're carrying around 15, 20 people. So you need time to cleanse your soul. You need time to cleanse your being. You need time to cleanse your spirit before you jump into the next relationship. And people always ask me, how do I do that? How hard is it? I mean, how do you cleanse your soul? You stay still, you meditate, you pray, you do whatever. You self-counsel, you listen to talks about relationships. You go on TED Talk and listen to talks. I do a lot of that. I read a lot of books. You read a lot of self-help books. You read, I mean, there's so much out there. There's a book I'm going to post, which is Letting Go. That was one of the books that prompted this thing. I read it about a year ago and I started to read it again. Because as your life changes, a lot of people are going to be let go. Your in-laws, by the way, you were an in-law to them. So now you're no longer an in-law and you still want to pretend that you're an in-law. That's a big problem. It's a red flag for the next person coming in because it shows that you haven't left. A lot of relationships have to be redefined. One of those relationships, especially for us women, is our friendship with other women, right? A lot of us women have these toxic relationships with other women that we call friends. You know, they're miserable. The thing that tied us together is because their husband cheated. So your husband is cheating, your wife is cheating. If you're gay like me, your wife is cheating on you, your husband is cheating on you. Those are the only things you have to talk about. See, when you have relationships with people that are outside your relationship, your love ship. I have friends, I have acquaintances. Thing is, I don't discuss my relationship with my friends. I learned that the hard way because at 55, I know better. I know better. I know who to talk to about my relationship and who not to talk to about my relationship because of the fact that, see, while I'm telling people that my relationship, I had a friend that I was telling, oh, how this person wasn't nice to me and how they were not treating me right, honey. Everything I told the woman, she went and used it to catch the guy. Yeah, she did. And I don't blame her because the guy wasn't really mine to begin with, because if it was, he wouldn't have gone. That's just my theory in life. But the point is, make sure that the relationships that you have is not a toxic relationship. It's not the pain that ties you together. Make sure that your friends that you have, in my opinion, should be friends that talk about other things aside of pain. If all you do is, oh, I'm in pain, woe is me, and you don't have people that lift you up around you or people that tell you the truth. I don't have a lot of friends. And I realized that I don't need a lot of friends. Because most people like me as long as I'm being politically correct. See, when I was in the closet, I had tons of friends because since I didn't like me, I didn't speak in truth. I pandered a lot. I told people what they wanted to hear to make themselves feel good. I posted fabulous things on social media. Oh, be great. You can make it. Honey, you ain't going to make it if you don't leave your house. Of course, people don't like that because a lot of people like to get something for nothing. So if you're able to have authentic conversations with your friends where you're telling each other the truth, where if you think you're doing something wrong, you can pick up the phone and call the person and say, hey, you know, I just want your opinion. And you can talk about business. You can talk about self-actualization, about growing and growth. Priceless. But make sure that you're not surrounding yourself with people that are depressed. They're still stuck in the mud. They're in horrible relationships. So they think it's okay. And they don't want to see you happy anyways. There's a lot of people that don't want to see you happy. So you have to understand that you have to find your own path. Sometimes you have to be your own best friend. How do you become your own best friend? You write your thoughts down. I do it a lot. If I have something to say, I say it on Facebook. Not everything, because I carry the book that I log everything into. There's some days that people upset me so much. And instead of me saying the words out, I would just write it down. Get a book and write your thoughts down. Use this time to manifest a lot of the things that you want to do. At 55, I'm doing everything. And then some things I don't even know I wanted to do, right? At 55, because finally I have come to own who I am. I have come to accept and love myself. And as I loved myself, as I became my authentic self, you know, another thing I must give you is one of my biggest secrets in life, right? When I became spiritual, and I'm not asking you guys to, when I became spiritual, I used to be religious, very religious. Oh, God said you can only have missionary sex, so I'm not thinking about being a lesbian. God said you can only do this. God said you can only do that. Ain't nobody. And I was dying to go to hell. I mean, to go to heaven, dying. I was so miserable. I wanted to die so I could at least go to heaven. Why wouldn't I go to heaven? I have been helping people. I move people from homeless shelters. I've done this, I've done that, and I've given up my last pennies to people to help them pay their rent while I didn't pay mine. And then, God said to me, wait. That's not the message I sent you. Absolutely not. That's not the message I sent you, he said. Okay, hold on 1 second. 1 second, please. I'm down. Okay. So God said, that's not the message. I'm not sending you a message to be giving all the last pennies to people. You're doing that because it feeds your ego. I'm not use your rent that I gave you, that I helped you get, to go and pay the bill so you can get into heaven. Are you kidding me? I gave you that money for yourself. I gave you a job so you can buy your own house. Everybody has their own classes that they have to take. You cannot save everybody. You cannot be Captain Save a Hole. You can't continue to take birds with broken wings and fix them. Because once you do that, once their wings are fixed, they're going to leave, and then you'll be left empty. Now, you do these things because you want to. You do it because it comes out of you, your core. Not because you're expecting something back. Hey! I was like, whoa. But church tells me, when you give, you get. I have this old man that visits me in my dream. People say I'm a witch because sometimes I see things. And I tell people, I see this or this, and then it happens, and they're like, oh my God, Mochi. So bottom line is that, this old man that visits me, he visited me that day and said, look, do things that makes you happy. Do things because you want to, not because you think you'll get something, not because you think the universe is going to bless you. No, just do things because it's the right thing to do. Can you get that every day? It's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. Yes, do what is the right thing to do and do what sits well with your soul. Chai! That for me was what set me free. Set me free. I started to live for me. I started to do things that gave me joy. I started to run. I started to exercise. I've always exercised, but I started to do more. I started to do things that people had told me was too dangerous, like hiking, like parasailing, all those things I started to do, things that I wanted to do. I wrote down things I wanted to do on my journey to self, and I started to do that. And then one day, the universe said to me, go out there and tell the world that you're gay. No way, I can't do that. Tell the world that you're gay. Are you kidding me? They're going to slaughter me. Nigerian people are crazy. No. Remember, everybody's journey is different though. I must really continuously say that. You have to listen to your own spirit. Because when spirit told me to go out, I said, no, I can't do it because I'm not technologically savvy. Then I met a friend of mine that lost his job on Facebook, and he wasn't doing anything, and I had a job, and I'm like, look, you did real estate someplace else. How about you come help me? And everything I needed to start that show came together. It was a radio show way before Facebook Live came on. And from that, I started to grow. And from that, I started to meet people. I came out on social media, 45,000 people watched that show when I came out, listened to that show when I came out, with the help of a heterosexual man that God just put there at the right time, at the right place. And I was put in his life at the right place at the right time as just friends. And things started to evolve. But because I listened to spirit, and it looked crazy, I'm telling you, even me, God, when I listened to the shows in those days, this is crazy. But as I grew, I started to trust in my walk, because it didn't make sense to a lot of people. People were laughing at me. People were telling me, I'll write a book. When I wrote, because I used to write my pain on social media. That's how people got to know me. I would talk about my walk, about my experiences. I became homeless. I sold my car so I would not be begging for people for money. Sold my Mercedes-Benz, bought a bicycle, and rode a bicycle in the middle of winter in New York. Right? But I did it on my own terms. I lived my way. And when I needed the help, God showed up. God always shows up at the right time for me. I don't know about you. I'm not a Christian. I'm an omnist, but I believe in God very, very highly. So God always showed up. So it wasn't that I didn't have to go begging people for anything. When I needed, I got. People would just say, okay, Moji here. And that's the way I live my life today. When I see people struggling, I give. Because most people that are asking are not giving. are not, they don't really need it. Like people call you and tell you they want to have a party and stuff like that. I'm not doing it, because part of the reasons why we do things like that is to feed our ego. When you stop feeding your ego, if you know me well, when I do, if you know me, when I do things, I no longer talk about it on social media. Number one, number two, when people come to me and say, thank you, Moji, I tell them to God be the glory, because I now know the difference. So when you're living your authentic life, you don't have to feed your ego that much. We all have ego. We're all narcissists, like I said. You don't have to. And the less you feed your ego, the more you leave. The more you leave, the more authentic you become. All your edges become sharper. All your corners become more rounded. And you start to attract the right people into your life. Because now you build boundaries. Building boundaries is part of the most important ways to move on. Building boundaries is not allowing your ex-husband to just show up at your door any goddamn time because he says you guys have children together. Building boundaries is not allowing, I repeat, your ex-partner to show up any goddamn time they want to. It's, it's giving them rules and regulations that work for both of you. It's not you not using your children as a baton to smack the guy as well. Moving on is the hardest thing to do, because it's like literally peeling a layer of your skin off. It hurts. But until you start to move on, you cannot get to the next chapter of your book of life, right? When we're reading a book, you have to close this chapter to be able to read the new one. But a lot of us want to stay on the old chapter, but yet we're looking for new pieces. Now, for you to move on, you have to let go of your ex. You have to let go of your ego. You have to allow your true self to shine. Because if you get into a relationship with somebody and you're not your true self, honey, it's not going to work. It's like, 3 years ago, a girl calls me and says, oh, Auntie Moji, sex with my husband is horrible. I'm like, what do you mean? How can it be horrible? Maybe you guys test drove each other before I use the word test drive, because that's what it is. Didn't you guys test drive each other before you got married? And she said, yes. But in Nigeria, they don't want us to, to talk about sex. They don't want, if you have sex with a guy and you let him know that you're freaky, he's not going to marry you, because nobody wants to marry a freaky girl. I was like, huh? No way. She goes, well, I'm really into S&M, and I like this and I like that, and I like to be spanked once in a while. I said, and your husband doesn't know. Then how in the world do you expect you guys, the both of you, to have amazing sex? Because you practically lied to this person that you're straight-laced. For all you know, he probably wants the same thing, but because you never showed him that part of yourself, he is now going to be cheating on you with somebody else, might even be a prostitute for all you know, because he has to get fed just like you. So go and have the conversation, I said to her, with your partner, or don't even talk about it. Just bring out some stuff one day and see how he reacts. Yeah, I did. I told her that. And, she's like, oh, Auntie Moji, you don't understand. He prays every day. No. He wouldn't even go down on me because I pretended like I didn't like him way years ago. But Auntie Moji, I'm telling you, I'm about to go get a boyfriend. I said, stop. Me, I don't, anybody, people call me the moral police. Integrity is big in my camp. Moji's world, it's about integrity, fixing our moral compass, because mine was broken into at one point. But I'm not going to let you go down that lane because you're scared that if you show him your true self, you will lose him. But who wants a life of imprisonment with horrible sex? I said, look, go out there, order some stuff. If you don't want to go into the store, order some stuff online and see where it goes. So this girl went on Google, whatever the name of the company is, and she ordered some toys and that. And then she cooked a meal, right? I told her, don't cook anything with pepper, I beg you. She cooked a meal, had everything set up, and she and her partner came home, and allegedly, according to her, when he saw this stuff, he fell out. She had candlelight all over the place, wine in the wine set aside, glass, everything set up. From the living room, the kids were put away. She had sent her kids to her mom's house. And she threw down. And the relationship got better. Because now, funny enough, he could be his authentic self with her because she allowed. What's it? God, no, no, no. I want a SU, right? I want a Christian girl. I don't missionary position. At least you know that person is not for you. So you let it go. You move on. So allow your authentic self to be seen. And I'm not asking you to go and sleep with every Tom, Dick, and Jones that you meet. Oh, I'm saying allow yourself, your authentic self, to be seen. Because that's the only time you attract the right people. I was sitting right here. I love to tell that story. I was sitting here doing my show because now it's no longer on, Blog Talk Radio. It's now on screen. And for 18 months, my wife was watching the show. And then one day I'm selling my jewelry, trying to raise money for a not-for-profit organization. I'm selling my jewelry. I'm selling my shoes. I'm selling this. And she inboxed me a couple of times and I didn't see it because, it goes to the other inbox. And then one morning at 3 a.m., I just went into the other inbox and I saw 3 messages from her and I inboxed her back, 3 a.m., ding, and she answered me. And she's like, look, I just wanted to tell you that, you see what you're doing? I know you don't know Nigerians a lot, which is true. I didn't grow up in Nigeria, really. So I didn't know the 419 in those days. Now I know. She said, I just wanted you to know that the organization that you're helping raise money for, the woman is going to scam you. She's a scammer. I'm like, really? And true enough, I personally raised $10,000 on my page for this woman. I was supposed to go to Nigeria to help them build whatever. I'm not even going to go back because it hurts. And she disappeared. She disappeared for months. So my wife and I started talking, yada, yada, yada. This is about moving on, right? We started talking, we became friends, and we found out that we had a lot in common, yada, yada. And then today we're married. Yeah. So what people laugh at you for, like when people were laughing at me because I'm talking on social media, I'm telling my story, I'm sharing my story with people, I'm advising women for free, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. What people laughed at me for is exactly what the universe used to get me to my promised land. So when I tell you become your authentic self, find who you are, find yourself, right? I'm not lying. It's a life I lived. It's not for everybody. It takes a lot of courage to sit up every day and be your authentic self. It takes a lot of courage to stand up every day and say, no, I'm not going to allow you to call me dear. One of the things I don't allow people to do, because for so many years, I've been abused, and I don't mean just physically. I'm talking about mentally. People have abused me. People have made me feel less, or I allowed people to make me feel less by, being condescending. And because I didn't really like myself, I allowed it. I don't allow people to call me dear. Don't call me dear. I'm not your dear. I don't know you like that. Don't call me sweetie, honey, and all that stuff. No, you start to build boundaries around yourself as you love yourself, right? So you get yourself, you're now ready. You're at the point where you're self-sufficient, you're self-actualized, I should say, right? And you are now really, truly ready to live your life, right? Moving on is the topic. Moving on. You've unpacked your suitcases as much as you can, because there's some things you got to leave in the suitcase because you're not ready to deal with it. But until you unpack your suitcases, it's going to be impossible to move on. You have to let go of the in-laws, of the friends that are keeping you in the friends that you go to and tell, my husband beats me, and they say, oh, or manager. Or you go, if you're a lesbian, and you say, my wife beats me, and they say, manager. Those are not your friends. Those are truly your enemies. Those are messengers of the devil. In Nigeria, we blame the devil and the witches for everything, right? So you want to walk away from the things in the past that held you hostage, the things in the past that held you, that enslaved you. You want to walk away from that. You want to surround yourself with people that are going places, people that are going to the same direction that you're going to. And it might not be a lot of people, because a lot of us think unless we have tons and tons of friends, our life is not good. You'll find out that the less friends you have, and I don't mean acquaintances, because part of the problem is that a lot of us don't know the difference between an acquaintance and a friend. An acquaintance is a person that you just chat with that doesn't invest anything back into your life. A friend takes the time to check on you. A friend takes the time to call you. It might not be every day. It might not be But a friend, you pick up the phone and you feel like you've never left them. I call those one sisters. I don't know what you guys call them. But the truth is that if you don't move to move on, you have to let go of the past. We already said that last week. So now moving on is the topic of the day. So now you've moved on to the point after you've checked yourself, you've unpacked your suitcases to see what kind of jagojantis are in there that you need to work on. Some things you have to throw away, like some friends that are not good for you, you throw them away. Some habits like smoking, eating, drinking. Because me, I'm a foodie. I'll never let that go. Sorry, I'm making puff today. But you know, whatever it is that holds you back, whatever it is that you want, you have to be willing to work for it as well. Nobody's going to give you handouts. And then you have to check your ego. That was the fourth thing that we talked about. And you have to be willing to be your authentic self in front of people. Not everybody, but people. Because until you're your authentic self, you cannot attract your true love. Omolade Lawale says you're right. Not everything you discuss. There are people you can't really open up to because they are just waiting to know more about you for the purpose of destroying you or what you have. Amen. There's a lot of people, see, what you have, if it's something that you care about, if it's something that you love, you have to cherish it. There's a difference between being secret and having something sacred. Sacred is when you value something very much, right? And you protect that thing. Secret is when you're hiding something. It's a secret. When something is sacred, you value it, you protect it, you nurture it. That's sacred. So secrets usually destroy people. Something sacred actually empowers people. When I said to you that I don't discuss my relationship with anybody except my shrink or my wife, it's because our relationship is sacred. I'm not going to call Omolade Lawale and start saying, oh, you know, my wife chews on the left side of the mouth and it's really upsetting. Guess who I tell? I tell my wife. And some things she can change. Most things she can't. So if another thing is when you're looking at your partners to date, you have to make sure that you like that person the way they are, because nobody changes anybody. So while you're moving on, you have to understand that as you want somebody to accept you as you are, you have to accept others as they are. It's so very important to be astute enough to know what it is that you want from a person. Don't go and marry a bricklayer when you're looking to be flying all over the world. Some people will say, oh, you're a money digger, you're a gold digger, you're this, you're that. Honey, it's better to know who you are. If you're a money sexual, don't go and marry a guy that's a plumber, that's working hard. Know who you are. When women, Nigerian women were coming to me, I said to God, because I dated non-Nigerians that I would cook, I would cook pepper soup. I love pepper soup. I would cook pepper soup, put it on a plate, and my ex would be like, ew, the head. The head is the best part. Watch me demolish the head of a fish, and she's about to throw up. So by the time I knew who I was, I think this was about 2013, 2014, I sat down and said, hey, I'm not going to date anybody. I want a Nigerian woman. I want a woman that's out. I want a woman that has her own, because I'd always supported everybody in my life. I'd been Captain Save the Whole all my life. I paid bills, I name it. Always done that. I want somebody that had their own, and I want somebody spiritual. 4 things really I was looking for. And when the universe decided to bring my wife and I together, it was in the most ridiculous way. But she had those qualities and 50,000 more. And she always tells me how I'm exactly what she wants in her life. With all my scoring, with what people call crazy, she allows me, permits me to be me as I permit her to be her. So unless you go out there, stand in your own true shoes, knowing what it is that you want, you will not know everything. But be sure that you know what the deal breakers are. My deal breakers was, I'm not dating any married woman from Nigeria, because most gay women in Nigeria are married to a man. Most of the ones that have approached me, I mean, I can't even, if I told you the names, you will die. Movie makers and very comfortable people. But that wasn't my objective. My objective was supposed to find somebody that had a job, or somebody that had their own. So when you're looking for whatever it is that makes you tick, I don't care if they call them gold diggers. Me, I don't believe anybody should be digging coal. That's my truth. Make sure that's as you're looking for somebody that has money to support you, somebody else is out there looking for somebody that they can support. There's always a hat. Everybody has a head, right? And every head has a hat. You just have to find the right one. There are women out there that only date married men because they don't feel like it. I won't do it. I won't date a married woman. That was my thing. But it doesn't mean I don't condone it, but they're men looking for girlfriends. So there's a yin to your yang at every situation. Just know what it is that you want in a relationship. And people are so afraid to say what they want. Because when I said, no, I'm not dating anybody that's married, I want somebody that has their own. And I don't mean be rich or filthy rich. No, just carry your own weight. Because look, if we come 50-50, 50-50, the day, and we come together, that's only 100. The day that I'm deficient, it means that the relationship, the pocketbook, the bank account, everything is deplete. It's going to be deficient. But if we both come 100 to the table, that's 200. Even if I lose 50%, or you lose 50%, or my partner loses 50%, God forbid, we are still more than enough. Stop, part of the problem is that when people don't know who they are, it becomes hard. That's why I started the conversation with self-actualization. People think when you say self-actualization, it means you have to have money in the bank. No, know who you are. Know thyself. Know what makes you tick. Be willing to pay the price to get what you want, which means be willing to stand still. I stood still. Be willing to stand still. Be willing not to settle. When I met my wife and I knew I felt what I felt and I knew she felt something for me, that was it. We got married. Not even, I think, 6 months. And people go, oh my God, that was so quick. No, honey, it wasn't quick. We've both been doing the work all our lives. I've been doing the work for the past 15 years. Are you kidding me? I've been doing the work for the past 15 years. When you meet the right person, it's not going to take 10 years for the person to say, oh my God, you're the one for me. And everybody is not meant to be married, by the way. So you have to decide if you want to be married or you just want to partner up with a person. It's not about marriage anymore at this point. It's about being in a good, solid relationship where you're in. If you have to get up out of bed every day to say hello to your best friend, you're in the wrong ship. At least that's what I believe. You're in the wrong ship. That's my opinion. It doesn't mean it's always, because I have friends that say, oh, my husband is not my best friend. I don't know how that works. But shuku to you if it works for you. I'm a live and let live kind of person. One size doesn't fit all Emoji's world. You have to create your own relationship. You have to define your own relationship. Of course, with your partner alone. You can't just wake up in the morning and say, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to have children. Sorry. I'm 55. You see, you have to have those kind of conversations. Like when I met my wife, once we started to date, one of the first things she told me, because my tubes are tied, one of the first conversations we had is, children. I already had 4 children, so I don't want any more kids. But I would adopt a child. I'm just not carrying any more kids. At 52, getting married at 52, if I go and have a Peking, the child will come down with Down syndrome or be autistic or something like that because my egg am at And luckily for me, she's like, I don't want any kids either. Whoa, that's a match made in heaven. And honestly, to God, a lot of you guys don't have these conversations with people when you talk about you're moved on, but you're not having authentic conversations with your partner. A lot of women are just getting pregnant and going to the guy and say, oh, I'm pregnant. And they're like, what? I don't want any kids. But now sometimes they can't say they don't want any children, but they start doing scoin stuff. They start acting silly. They start acting stupid. And you don't know that it's because you went and popped picking out. But you never had the conversation. So these are all conversations you have to start having with people that you're now ready to date. Because if they're not going in the same direction, I can't be going to Yaba and somebody wants to go to Ikeja. But yet we're planning on being in the same car. If I'm going downtown New York, I'm not going to get in the same car with somebody that wants to go to the Yonkers. It's 2 different directions. That's why it's very important to have authentic conversations with people that you're dating up front. So they know exactly If you're not going, look, it's very rare that people are going in the same direction, but to the same destination. But you can be going in the same direction, and one person make a right to go to that person's destination first, and then you go left to go to that person's destination because it's not too far apart. But when it's two opposite directions, then you have a big problem, don't you? See, transparency, authenticity, and the courage to live in truth is priceless. One of the reasons why my relationship works very well with my wife is because I allowed her to see all of me, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So that one day she won't wake up and say, this kind of cray way you do, I don't agree with you. She already knew my cray before she came along because, again, she had watched me for 18 months. And I'm always my authentic self. If instead of me to say something and BS, I won't even talk at all. I won't say it. There's a lot of people's pages that I go to, and I say, instead of talking on their page, I'll just walk past if I think their stuff is BS. You know, I see a lot of people strutting. You haven't lived something, but you want to teach people how to live it. You haven't done something. It's like a gynecologist. A male gynecologist can tell me what's going on down there because he learned biology. He can't tell me what it feels like because he's not a man. He can't tell me what my painful period feels like or a heavy period feels like. Women gynecologists can tell me because they've probably experienced it, or they know, they understand what I'm talking about. So for me, authenticity, to move on, you got to find your true self. You do. To move on, you have to find your true self. If you don't find your true self, it's one thing to even find your true self. Let's talk a little bit. Let's take 2 minutes, Barry. Let's talk about the fact that sometimes you find your true self and you don't like your true self. What happens when you find your true self and you don't really like your true self? You have to change. People are so afraid of change. People are so scared to become somebody that they want to become because they're afraid of what their friends will say. Honey, I lived that life where I was so, my father was very comfortable. I come from a very, very, very bougie background. I went to boarding school in America, private boarding school, private university. And when I started hanging out, when I lived in the white world, it was cool, it was fun. Even in my black world, the people in my black world are so shishipu, the people in my Nigerian crowd, like the Shijuades and Gelele. But I was so afraid when I started hanging out with regular Nigerians that I had to dump myself down for them. And part of dumping myself down for them is how I ended up banging my head a few times. Because once you stop being your authentic self, you become what the world wants you to be. And when you look in the mirror, you don't like that person. That's why I continue to say we all need to fix our moral compass in Nigeria, because we don't give people, there's no more merit in excellence. There's no more, people like me are considered to be crazy because, I'm not half naked on my show so I can get followers. I'm not talking about sex and how to do this and how to do that. And I'm not talking about all kinds of jagojantis or gossip that people want to hear. My show, I'm not, what I realized once I started to value myself, I started to allow myself to do what sits well with my soul and allow others. I don't need 100,000 followers. I don't make money from social media. People that need money, that are making their living from social media, the ones that you see that will be jumping up and down and posting trash, things that are not even educational. A lot of bloggers get paid to do write-ups, to do damage control. I won't do that. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with what they do. It's just not for me. See, once you know your authentic self, imagine if I was one of those people that was flashing my boobs all the time and doing this and doing that, short skirt so you can see my... Some people, grown-up people, wear short skirts, you can see their bloody ovaries. Guess what type of man, if you're straight, that you'll attract? Exactly. And I'm not saying, if that's what you want in your life, by all means, shuku to you. We're talking about moving on, folks. If that's what you want. But if that's not what you want, you have to be willing to do the work. I've always been a little bit, like my wife calls me, weird. I dance to my own drums. But the pressure of being what the world wants you to be is so massive that it destroys people's spirits. The pressure from church destroys people's spirits too sometimes. So we're not talking about church today. We're talking about moving on from a relationship. And let's talk about church. Church is one of the biggest things that holds women in abusive, horrible relationships because the Bible doesn't like divorce. You know, one of my favorite pastors, Itwa, got a divorce from Redeemed Church and they kind of blackballed him. So he left and he opened up his own church. And his church is so super fantastic. Better, as far as I'm concerned, it's not a mafia. It's practical religion, practical Christianity. A lot of things that happens to us, we think it's about us. It's meant to hold us down. But honey, it's about growing. It's about the universe giving you classes so you can get to your promised land. It's about becoming your authentic self so you can attract the people that love you. Now, after you attract the people that love you, you have to have the power of discernment to know that these people are authentic. Because there are many people out there that just want to sleep with you. They'll tell you, oh, baby, oh, huh, and they'll let you get away with murder. They're just looking at you because you've been flaunting your chest. Like half of the gay men on my page are always half naked and I'm always shouting. Well, they're no longer on my page because I deleted them. Sorry, but they're always shouting, they're always noisy, they're always naked. What kind of a person do you think wants to have something that the whole world has seen? What is so sacred about your body that 10,000 people saw? I don't understand. And you think you're going to get a good relationship? Nobody's going to invest their life in a relationship with a person that doesn't value themselves enough, in my opinion, to protect themselves, to make their bodies sacred. We're free spirit, honey. You'll get a free spirit that will come for 5 minutes, do the jiggy jiggy with you and leave you. And if that's what you want, a revolving door in your heart or a revolving door in your sushi, shuku to you. Eventually you'll become like that 1979 Volkswagen Bug with too much mileage on it. See, what I tell people is you won't be like wine, honey. Slow and easy wins the race. And you can do this. You can truly do this. If this method is for you, take it and run. It's free. If it's not for you, keep doing what you're doing. You'll get there. I'm only doing 4 series on this. And originally I wasn't going to do it on Facebook. I was just going to do it on YouTube because nobody's really there. But I felt like I needed to put the message out. But moving on is one of the hardest things to do. And a lot of people are afraid to move on. To move on, you have to be willing to be vulnerable. You have to be willing to allow your authentic self to show. You have to be willing to let go of secrets because secrets only hold us in bondage. It doesn't free us. There's nothing. The day I said I am gay, oh my God. My name is Mojisola. I think it was Percy then. I am gay. It felt like somebody, like a huge load was taken off of my head. The same thing goes for people that are divorced, but they don't want the world to know they're divorced. If they don't know you're divorced, how are you going to find a new partner? They'll keep thinking unless a sleazy person that wants to date you thinking you're still married, then he really doesn't want you. He just wants to what? He wants to do the jiggy jiggy with you. Anyways, you guys are very quiet. I see 9 people on, or 4 people, I don't know. But you're very quiet, so please say hello to me so I know you're there. Hey, Alel, I see you. Good morning to you as well. So anyways, while we're talking about being real, good communication makes relationships work all the time. But you can't hold back. You can't, oh my God, you can't be your authentic self and then have secrets from your partner. It's not going to work. Being real allows you to be seen by the potential partner. Being real allows you to be seen for the hat for your head. That's the way I put it. I hope that makes sense to people. But moving on is a very, very hard thing to do. I keep saying that. It's one of the most painful processes for me. And like a butterfly, while there's a lot of metamorphoses that we go through in life, there's a lot of changes that we go through. There's a lot of painful things that we have to go through. See, those painful moments are the moments that we become our best authentic selves. I have been through so much in my life, but I won't be sitting here talking to you guys if I didn't have all of those experiences. Would I change anything in my life? No. Yeah, maybe some. Maybe some. But I'm grateful for my walk, as you should be too. And for those of you guys that are going through a separation at the moment, that are going through a divorce at the moment, or have gone through a divorce, there's always, I'm telling you, you might not be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel. You might not even be able to see the tunnel. It's time that you go to somebody and ask them to lend you their light so you can see your path. Sometimes all you need is somebody to just lean on, to have conversations with. Sometimes all you need is somebody to hold your hands, right? And walk with you. Sometimes all you need is somebody to listen to you. There's nothing like being able to talk to somebody and know for a fact that that person has your best interest. For me, I have a few people in my life like that, but it was always a therapist. It was always a life coach, because they were trained to be able to guide me, because you're doing the work yourself. All they do is guide you to where you need to go. You have to do the work, but they know how to guide you. I'm a certified life coach. This is what I do for a living at the moment, as well as I'm a real estate broker. If you need an ear, I will talk to you. I will not talk to you for 6 months straight unless you're my client, but I will definitely, if you're in crisis, you can inbox me, you can email me. If my website is going to be launched in a few days. So I do what I do because this is my contribution to the universe. My fees are very, depends on, I do it on a sliding scale. What people can afford is what I charge, because I believe that people pay. When people pay for something, they value it. It becomes more sacred to them. See the difference between sacred and secret? Anyways, this is Mojisola Wilson. It's 1 hour. It's past my time. And I tell you, hey, Anike, how are you? Life is an amazing thing, but we have to be willing to take the chance. We have to be willing to take the chance to let go. Stop being afraid of what's ahead of you. Stop being afraid of what could happen that you stop doing. Stop living. Stop being so afraid of what tomorrow will bring that you forget to live today. Stop being afraid. Unpacking your suitcases allows you to let go of fear. When you know who you are, it's not that you won't make a mistake. Come on now, I will. We're good. I'll be making mistakes till I die. One thing about being your authentic self is also accepting your shortcomings. I know I'm not a computer wizard. There's a lot of things I can't do, but there's a lot of things I can do. So I focus on the things I cannot do. I can do. And I work on some things that I can do, but there's some things I don't even want to do. So you do what it is that makes you happy. You do what it is that brings you joy. Moving on is not easy, but I tell you, it's one of the most amazing things. The transformation you go through during those times will set the precedence for the rest of your life. Don't be afraid to receive love. Don't be afraid to let go of people. No matter how much you love them, if it's not working, let it go. Life is too short to hold on and pretend that it's okay. Don't hold on to garbage, because then, as nothing is coming in because your hands are closed, nothing leaves because you don't want to let go, nothing comes in because your hands are closed. Right? This is Mojisola Wilson. Authentic Conversation is the name of the show. I speak power into truth with a very unique voice. Some days we laugh, some days we cry, some days, we just kind of blow breeze. But on Mondays for the next 2 weeks, we'll be talking about relationships and how to build our relationships. So last week we talked about letting go. This week we talked about moving on. Next week, Monday, we'll be talking about building a new relationship. Building a relationship. And I might bring somebody else on just because I'm tired of listening to myself talk. Anyways, this is Mojisola Wilson. I thank you all for coming in. It's been a great conversation, and I will see you, I believe, tomorrow for the regular shows that I do, which is just talking. All right. Thank you. Cheers.